The church has been getting James 127 half rate for years, and I'm not sure if we even notice. All right, so let's talk about James 127. And before you click off thinking, yeah, I know this first, just bear with me, because there's something in here that I think we gloss over every single time we read it. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. So James gives us two things, two commitments, and I genuinely think you can't have one without the other. Let me explain. The first one is one everybody knows: look after orphans and widows. Maybe you've heard a sermon on this before, but here's the thing: James doesn't say donate once a year and call it good. The language here is ongoing, it's continuous. Like, this is a lifestyle, not a line item in a church budget. Now, in the ancient world, when somebody died, that family was in serious trouble. No social welfare, no safety net. Widows and orphans were among the most vulnerable people in society, and God's people were called to step into that gap. But what does it look like right now? Because I think we spiritualize this verse and never actually apply it. When's the last time your church community actually reached out to a widow? Not a card, not a casserole dropped on the porch, but like consistently showing up over time in a real relationship. And kids in single parent homes, they need mentors. They need somebody who will show up for them. That is the church's assignment, not just the government's, not just the schools. And here's a practical thing: stop assuming you know what people need. Just ask. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just sit with somebody who's lonely. That's it. No program required. Real fast, you guys, if you're getting something out of this, go ahead and hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content. And as always, I highly recommend you grab a Bible and read James chapter 1 for yourself. The whole thing is worth your time. Okay, so now here's the second command. And it's one that gets way less airtime, but it matters just as much. Keep oneself from being polluted by the world. And you guys, before you picture some monk living alone in a cave somewhere, let me be very clear about what this does not mean. It doesn't mean withdraw from society. It doesn't mean never talk to people who believe differently than you. And yes, you should separate yourself, but probably not in the way you're thinking. Let me explain. What James is actually talking about is the corrupting influence of self centeredness, of exercising your faith for human approval instead of God's approval. And that kind of pollution, it can creep into a church just as easily as it creeps into the world. Think about it. How many people practice their religion to look good, to be seen as righteous, to get the approval of people around them rather than God? Does your image of authentic faith actually reflect what the Bible teaches? Or does it reflect something you've shaped to make yourself or people around you more comfortable? Okay, so here's why these two commands can't be separated. James puts them in the same sentence on purpose. You can't claim to have authentic faith while hoarding your comfort and ignoring vulnerable people around you. And you can't genuinely serve the vulnerable if your motives are tangled up in selfishness or a need for approval. Both commands point to the same reality. You need to do this because you're living out who you actually are as a child of God, not because you're performing for people. Service without purity is performance. Purity without service is passivity. James calls us to both. As always, God is good and God bless. And remember, share this with anybody you think needs to hear it. And if you got thoughts on how your church is living out James 127 or struggling to, drop it in the comments. I genuinely would love to hear from you guys.